Greetings, Legionnaires, and we are back. Welcome once again to the Wrestling Legion podcast. We've been away for a while. We're back. We've got loads to talk about. I am Nick the Geek. As always, I'm joined by two fantastic brains, two fantastic friends, two fantastic people. I'm joined by my partner in crime, as ever, Simon. How are you, sir?
Still fighting the jet lag, but I'm here. We went forwards 1 hour, backwards 8 hours, forwards 9 hours, backwards 1 hour. So I'm fighting the jet lag. Don't know what time of day it is. I'm all wrestled out, but it's good to be here, dude.
Good to be here. And we are joined, of course, by the Redeemer himself. We are joined by Andy. Andy, how the hell are you doing?
All good, mate. All good. Do you know what? One thing I will say is, as much as the jet lag and everything else, I expected to be kind of on the holiday blues around about now, and I haven't had it because every time I think back to the week that we had, I just keep smiling.
Yeah, it's the same with me. Like, honestly, best weekend of my life so far. Anybody that doesn't know, the three of us and a couple of our friends, my brother and our friend on the mat, were very lucky to go to Wrestlemania 39 last weekend. It was the best weekend of my life. What a fantastic show. Just unbelievable event. Probably the best WrestleMania I have seen in years. And I know I've got recency bias and the fact that I was there live, but it was better than last year's. It was sure as hell better than the year before. I'd say it's probably the best WrestleMania in the last decade, Si. Would you agree?
Thereabouts. The way I saw it, night one was fantastic. It's hard to fault, aside from Rey Mysterio winning, but let's not get into that. I thought it was
we will.
We will get into that.
No, let's not get into that. But it was the best one night WrestleMania I thought we'd had, for a long, long time. Night two, not quite the same level, not quite the same standard, but I think overall it was the best Mania in a good 4 or 5 years.
Yeah,
I think we were lucky.
Obviously, there was one massive disappointment on night two, yes. And for you, Si, there was a massive disappointment on night one.
Yeah, there was. Yeah, well, let's not talk about that. That's okay. A week ago.
Just before we get into your reaction, I'm sorry, Si, but we're going to go down the route of giving you a little bit of your promise beforehand, and rather than you tell us now, we're going to let you tell us.
And right now we're seeing the ring entrance of the great Dominic Mysterio. He's going to make a name for himself tonight by beating his father and becoming the new king of wrestling.
Now, obviously, you were very hyped up before the match, and due to the fact that I've got to talk about Cody losing, you've got to talk about Dom losing.
I don't know where you found that guy, but he does look a little bit like me. I've never owned a purple shirt like that. It's amazing. They say everyone's got a double, right? But he's obviously deluded. I mean, who'd be that big of a Dominic fan that would make such an ass out of themselves?
Might have been, it was your twin in jail with Tom when he was doing his hard time. Is that what it was?
Hey, what can I say? I got caught up in the moment. It wasn't the ending I thought we should have had, but I think, like we've talked about in the week, I think maybe a lot of storylines have maybe been delayed a little bit because of the sale.
Agreed.
Tom Ray, Cody Roman, things have been put on ice a little bit. So hopefully that will still be meaningful at the end of the story in a few months.
Yeah, I think a lot of it's to do, unfortunately, with the Bad Bunny situation as well, because they need to have something for Bad Bunny to do, and I feel like when I've actually sat down, because you know yourself, Si, I was the same as you. I really wanted Dom to win. I really rate Dom. I think he's had an absolute amazing year. He's doing fantastic. Even Jim Cornette, believe it or not, actually was singing the praises to Dom on the Experience this week, which was amazing. But when I've actually sat back and chewed it over and thought about it, it makes it, for me, if Ray would have won, if Dom would have won, then Dom's finished that bit and he can crack on with what he's doing. Where with Dom being a heel, him losing to his father and not accepting it is actually a good arc to carry the story on. And they needed to carry that story and then obviously get the Bad Bunny involvement, which then makes it look like it's not exactly a bad loss for Dom. So they've protected him there in a way, which, to be fair, the fact they've protected Dom shows how much they think of Dom, in my eyes.
Yeah, I get that. Totally get that. And from my point of view, even though I'm no shame. I'm the biggest Dom stan there is. Just the fact that we get Rey Mysterio around for another 4 or 5 months when I was convinced he was leaving. Hey, Courtney, is great because Rey's fantastic, So if we get him for the rest of the year, it's a bonus.
Yeah. Well,
absolute brilliance.
Delete that clip. Get rid of that.
Yeah. On to just the card, the general card of Mania. I think we've all got our favourite matches from the night. Si, you've told me and I've told you we both think that main event was 5 stars.
Yes.
Cody Roman was,
yes.
Other than the ending, which I hated, I thought was a phenomenal piece of storytelling. They paced it perfectly. They escalated the match when they needed to escalate the match. There was the correct amount of outside interference for a Cody Rhodes overbooked crazy match. Just the work that those two put in. After watching highlights of it back and really thinking about where things are going and knowing that the Brock plan has been in place for quite some time, according to Triple H, is that Cody knew what he was doing. Because if you think back to his father took 3 shots before he eventually beat Ric Flair.
Went through hard times.
Yeah. And as much as Cody's struggle was effectively tearing half his body off and then wrestling with it and then recovering and coming back and winning the Rumble, as Andy has said on many occasions, the fan base didn't see that struggle.
No.
So having Cody now go through, as you put it, Simon, hard times to get back to that championship is probably the best thing for as far as the story goes. But I do worry, and I don't know what you think about this, Andy, but Cody was so hot going into Mania. Do you think he'll ever get that level of momentum back?
I don't think he was hot enough.
Okay.
I don't think he was hot enough. I mean, I'm a big Cody mark. I always have been. I really love Cody. And I weren't believing it going into Mania. And to be honest, I was kind of happy that he lost, which pains me to say because I love Cody. But when he wins it, I want it to really mean something. And at the moment, he seems like a bit of a company guy, and he's just got there because that was part of his contract or whatever else, which really annoyed me. Where now we've got the time to right the wrongs, and really, I think by the time he comes to go for it again, he will be red hot because people will be ready for it.
Okay. No, I see. I get your point on that one.
Because I like you said, people cheer Cody, but like there was a bit on night one where The Miz mentions Kevin Owens, and there was a bit of a pop, and then he said Sami Zayn, and you can get Cody to that if you do it right.
Yeah. Okay, I agree with that. But on to the other half of the equation in that match, Roman Reigns. Now, I think Roman put in the performance of his run. Quite frankly, at this WrestleMania, I think it was the best match, his best title defense he's had. Cody's obviously 50% of that, but Roman is also half that match. On top of that, 1,000 days, boys. I think it's a guarantee now that he's going to hit the 1,000. Do we think they're going to go for Hogan? Or do you think it's just going to be 1,000, then start thinking about how to book him to lose the belt?
Afternoon, David.
Hello, Dave.
I believe he needs the title until next September. So you're looking at just under 18 months to beat Hogan's reign from 84 to 88. I think that's the general idea. I mean, with the sale going through, it's not the right time to take on a new champion. I believe there's a hiring ban. They've frozen taking on new employees while the transition takes place, which is...
Sorry, Si, can I just ask you something? I know, sorry, Nick, I know I'm not hosting here, but I'm just interested to find out a view. Is with the TV deals coming up and Roman only coming sporadically on the shows and in between bits and bobs, does Roman need to keep both belts to make that record a realization, or could you still pull one away from him?
You know how I feel. I feel that less is more. 2 titles, they're just not needed at the minute, the way the rosters are. It was good when you had no competition. For that 15 years, we had no major competition. But now there's competition again. You don't need 2 brands. You don't need 2 belts. 1 belt means more.
However, Triple H did announce on SmackDown. Check out my review if you haven't seen it. Put it to the channel. They are doing the draft in a few weeks. I've been saying 1,000 days a month to keep up in those numbers. Yes, you have, David. They are doing a draft soon. And a draft is the perfect opportunity to split those belts. There's not going to be a better time to do it. It's easy enough. You have one world champion. You have them draft a world champion to Raw and a world champion to SmackDown. But Roman can't be both. So he gets to keep the Universal title. And then they have a tournament, because I love a goddamn tournament, right, to determine who the new champion is on Raw. Or they do what they do with Triple H and they just go, here, have a belt.
Let me ask you this, though. The main defense of, I mean, I think it's split 50-50 online, you know, people wanting to keep one title, people wanting two titles. But for all the arguments I've seen from people who want titles to be separated, the first go-to argument every time is Raw and SmackDown are on different networks. You've got Fox, you've got USA. Now, is that redundant now that when the current contracts end, it's rumored they're both going to be on Disney Plus? So therefore,
it could do, but then does that become more prominent then because they don't have? It's not about them appeasing the networks. Then it's about them saying, "Well, if we need a champion on both things to keep it going," and then also we might because they haven't got the executives to appease anymore. So you would never see Roman on Raw ever. Never, ever, ever would he ever appear on there. And then your champion becomes more prominent on Raw because you don't need to have Roman on there because you don't have to appease any executives because it's your own running of the way that it goes.
Yeah.
Because I believe the problem was even when we had Brock and Roman, because Brock wasn't showing up every week on Raw and Roman was the hottest thing on SmackDown. I believe that's why it was USA executives complaining and wanting Roman to appear on Raw. So you take that away, you might be able to split them up again. You know, because I know everyone goes on saying the executives, but
I just see it as lose-lose. I mean, if you have someone beat Roman for one title, then his reign with the other title has kind of been blemished, hasn't it? It doesn't mean as much. And if you do it the other way and you just hand someone one of the titles, then where's the credibility?
This is the thing. If you do it during the draft and they actually split the belts as part of the draft, Roman doesn't lose any credibility because the company has simply taken
but the
one of
person
his
that wins
toys
the
away.
other title does because they've not beaten Roman.
But the thing is,
that's why you hold a tournament.
Yeah, if though as well, let's not forget this 1,000 days doesn't include the WWE Championship. It's the Universal is where it all started and stuff. Yeah. So you have still got that in the back pocket to go back to the Universal and say, well, he's got the belt where it all begun. The WWE one got added to it, but it's not part of the actual official run. So you could get away with it based on that sense. I think the Universal's better for Roman because he is part of the Universe era, should we say, as well. So that makes sense. But also, I don't know whether he's actually noticed or anybody took note of Triple H's actual words that he said on SmackDown when he was saying about the draft. So for me, it was very, very key that he turned around and stated, no superstar is ineligible.
Yeah.
And he made a very point of saying that. I think he actually said it twice in the promo.
I think his exact words
picked that out of it.
Every superstar will be eligible to draft. That's right. No superstar will be uneligible.
That's it, yeah.
He said all three brands as well, didn't he?
Yes, he did. So that's where I think for me, that was the key wording of it. Because it's saying, okay, well then if Roman gets drafted to... Because if it's including his champions and Roman gets drafted to SmackDown, then we've got an issue. Do you know what I mean? So
Just imagine if NXT picked Roman Reigns first.
Oh, that'd be class.
That'd be incredible. Yeah. Right, moving on, but yet backwards. What was your favourite match on the card, boys?
Do you know what? I'll go first on this.
Go on.
So I think for me, there was two of them. In fact, you know what? There was three, and I'm going to give three different reasons for it. So the first one, Sami Zayn, Kevin Owens for what it done. I thought the emotion in that match was amazing. It was so well delivered. Everything was perfect. Brilliant match.
5 stars.
Yeah, 5 stars. For the sheer brutality of it and the way it went and what it gave me something different was the triple threat, the Intercontinental one. And then, believe it or not, my actual surprise of the whole weekend The men's tag team match was awesome. It really was awesome. It was such a good match.
Yeah. No, it was.
I'd add to that. Sorry, Nick. I'd add to that. Charlotte and Rhea, I think, was a definite maybe 4.5-star match. That was great. For me personally, like emotional investment, it was Cody Roman and Ray against Dominic were my two favorites, not necessarily the two best.
For me, Cody Roman and the triple threat. And then probably Charlotte Rhea, because those two beat the snot out of each other. Credit.
But again, Nick, you need to give us a bit of context on that, mate, in terms of wrestling and emotion.
Oh, it was for Rhea. I'm really invested in Rhea Ripley. I've been really invested in Rhea Ripley for a long time. I think she's a phenomenal talent. She's from my old hometown. She deserved what she got on Saturday, and I was really trepidatious going in because it was Charlotte. She was wrestling, thinking, here we go again. They're just going to repeat what they did in front of no fans a few years ago and have Charlotte go over after Rhea puts in a banger performance. But they didn't. They've let Rhea embrace this new character. They've let her really travel forward and topple the queen. And they've let her do it on the grandest stage of them all. They've solidified her as the baddest woman in the division. Sorry, it's not Ronda Rousey anymore. And I'm just so happy for her. And the match itself was the most physical women's match I have seen in years. They beat the snot out of each other. I'm big on physical wrestling. That's why I like Japanese wrestling so much, because it's very physical style. And they beat the living snot out of each other. And there was only one botch in the whole match, which turned out to look better than it would have done if they'd succeeded. So, but other than that, I mean, for the triple threat, I'm just so glad Gunther won, because Honky's record needs to die. I'll say it now, and I'll say it every single day until Gunther beats that record.
I believe it's September the 12th is the golden day, thereabouts.
Yeah, which I think. And Drew put in the performance of a lifetime. Sheamus always puts on a banger. They just beat the snot out of each other. And that was superb to watch. And, you both know how invested I was in Cody winning going into this show. I have never been so disappointed. I got the World Tag Title at number 3 for a year, and Death Flair number 16, Gunther versus Drew versus Sheamus at 17. Props to the men's fatal 4-way tag better than expected. Yeah, I'd agree with most of that, David.
Yeah, I thought the men's fatal 4-way, just for that one particular, is like I had no investments in that match, but it felt like, do you know what it felt like to me? That match should go into an indie show where there's no background to it. You're just going to watch a pure match and just really enjoying it. And, I'm not mad at that at all. I think they should do more of that on a card. I think people going into it were really slating that match, saying, oh, it's just a throwaway match on a card. But you know what? The fact
they made the best of it.
Yeah, because we didn't have no chips in the game. It actually made it really enjoyable to watch and watch the actual. And they delivered on that. You've got to have people that will deliver, and they really did there. So, cool.
For me, a shout out for 3 guys in particular there. You got Montez, you got Chad Gable, and you got Ricochet. And they were like the keystones of that match. And you put them together in any combination, it's always going to bang.
Give Braun Strowman pseudo, mate, off the top rope and everything else. It's
Strowman. That's the hardest I've seen Braun work in a long time.
Yeah,
but I think he really enjoys tagging with Ricochet. I think he does, because they're probably quite similar people in real life. They just happen to be opposite sizes. But anyway, that's enough gushing about WrestleMania, gents. We're going to move on.
Just one more thing as well. We haven't talked about the absolute highlight of the trip, of when we were walking across. It was a hot summer day, first night of WrestleMania. Any Brits who go there know what this is like. You haven't had a cup of tea in about 3 days.
Yes.
We've been slapped down by Starbucks because they didn't have no stock or anything like that. And there he was, aisle 17 in Target, PG tips.
Yes, anyone that is British, English, and tea drinkers specifically, if you go to America, you are not going to be able to find a cup of tea.
Yeah,
it's virtually impossible.
Also, before we move on from the whole media experience, I just want to go through Ring of Honor a little bit as well.
No, that's what I was about to
show.
get to.
What a show.
I was about to get to Ring of Honor and our other show that we went to. So, as you can tell, I had a really good time at Ring of Honor. Spent a load of money on merchandise.
However, it started before the show, didn't it?
Yes.
Well, we had the pleasure of coming out of the airport and renting a car. And who should be in the queue with us?
But Doc Sampson. Wonderful man. Fantastic to meet him, even though he was quite annoyed that my brother didn't know who he was. At first, he's a fantastic bloke. Really nice guy. Offered to get us floor seats if we could bump into him at the show, which was really, really cool. But the seats that you got us, Si, were so freaking good at Ring of Honor.
Oh, so good.
Those seats were amazing. We had such a good view of the ring, first tier, second row, it was superb. Let's just go through a couple of the matches off the show that we got to see, because unfortunately we did have to leave the Ring of Honor show early to make it to GCW spring break. But that turned out to be an absolute treat of a show, so it wasn't a bad thing. And I got to watch the 2 matches we missed back when we got back to the house after the show. So, for me, the highlight of the entire Ring of Honor show was getting to see Hiroshi Tanahashi live. I have a bucket list of Japanese professional wrestlers that I want to see live. And Tanahashi was quite close to the top of that list. And now it's been ticked off. I thought Daniel Garcia was a fantastic opponent for him. I don't think they gelled as well as everyone thought they would, which would explain why Tanahashi is now missing his top 4 teeth. But it was a highlight of the show for me. I came out of my seat when he made his entrance. I thought it was just absolutely Ring of Honor was opened as well by probably my favorite match of the weekend, which was the AAA Mega Championship match between El Hijo del Vikingo and Commander. This was a banger of bangers. It is the flippiest match I have ever seen in my life. And I've watched some flippy matches. Andy, I know you were gushing over this match.
Oh, mate. Do you know what? I'll tell you straight. I was just gushing over Viking over the whole weekend. He was just so good. So good. And just to go back, there you go.
There is Doc Sampson. And that is my brother, for all of those people who wanted to know what he looks like for all of these years.
And just a bit of disclaimer, guys. You may not hear us mention Andy much on this podcast. We will have to set up an OnlyFans if you want to hear the stories of Andy and his escapades on our trip or his analogies.
Yeah. And I don't think YouTube would monetize us if we did that. So
I think they'd ban us.
More than likely. Yeah, possibly.
I think I'll leave it at Fireplace and Gatherings. I think that's the best way.
No.
Oh. As long as it doesn't involve a group, we're fine, boys. Right, yeah, but on the subject of Vikingo.
Hey, Andy.
On the subject of Vikingo, Andy, we got to meet him. Not only did we get to meet him, we got to hold the AAA Mega Championship. I don't care that I'm 40 years old. I'm a wrestling nerd. That was one of the greatest things that's ever happened to me. And I was amazed how much taller than Vikingo you really are.
He tried to stand on his tiptoes to actually jump over me, so it was kind of quite funny. Like, but mate, do you know what? As much as he might not be as tall as me, he literally made me feel about 2 foot tall because I was just in awe of him.
Yep. Like, if anybody ever gets the chance to watch an El Hijo del Vikingo match live, you owe yourself to go and do it. The man is truly captivating. The stuff he is physically capable of doing in the ring boggles the mind. Like, it truly does. Probably the best performances of the weekend were put in, because after Ring of Honor, we've got to talk about the Reach of the Skyline match. What a batshit crazy, exceedingly dangerous, just mental performance those boys put on. And I was so scared the Kingdom were going to win.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't think you could follow Vikingo's flippiness. with anything that was more like, oh my God. But that tag match, like you say.
I think one thing though, Si, is with Vikingo is he's got flippiness, but he always looks so safe in the way he does it. These guys just went crazy.
Yeah, that's
and there you
I
go.
think.
There
we go. Fantastic. Got to beat Vikingo. Amazing man. Yeah, just that I think is the point, because Dante Martin broke his leg in this match, unfortunately, doing a ludicrous Canadian destroyer through 4 tables. After he nearly broke his neck, taking a doomsday device on the outside where he landed on his head. I'm old. And when you get to a certain age, you start to worry about the professional wrestlers that you are watching. AEW, please stop trying to kill your employees.
You know what? No, I'll stop you there, Nick, because I don't think they need to stop trying to kill them. I think they need to start managing them, because I think that's the issue here. I think the issue is Tony's not a booker. He might book the endings and stuff, which is great, but he's not an agent. He doesn't know how to book a match in terms of step by step. And I think this is the problem: is he's giving them an ending and he's letting them fill in the gaps. And it's just getting too much. It's getting too far.
That was just Dante's knee hit his ass. Like, that was horrendous. Godspeed to him healing. God, Dante, I hope you are well very soon, because nobody deserves to go through that kind of pain. But I completely agree with you, Andy. They don't have match bookers in AEW.
And can I just say as well, one thing that really wound me up as well was the fact of Maria and the other manager putting the tables up together and stuff. And I was like, oh no, why? And I know it might be being a bit picky here, but it just, for little things like that, it's like you're meant to be rivals. Why are you setting tables up together? Mm-hmm. It's just like, come on, do you know what I mean?
Yeah. While we're on the nitpicking of Ring of Honor, I'll move on to the next match that we got to watch, which was Mark Briscoe versus Samoa Joe for the TV title. Where for some God knows what reason, Samoa Joe, who I've always loved, but honestly, when you watch him live now, he's changed his style a lot because he cannot go at the level he used to be able to go at. He's getting on. Yep. He's had to slow down. Joe won this match. Mark Briscoe's kids were there. Jay Briscoe's kids were there. I thought this was the biggest mistake of the entire weekend as far as the booking decision went. Mark should have won that title, and in my opinion, they should have main evented the show with it. But just, I'm happy for Joe. It means Joe's sticking around. He's not going to go off into the sunset or whatever, but Mark deserved that moment. There was never a more perfect time or place to crown him with the championship belt. And
it's got to be said, bringing in his whole family, his kids, Jay's kids, and then losing was probably up there with Cena having all this, all the Make-A-Wish kids, and then losing.
Yeah.
I think the one thing that I said to you, Si, didn't I, when we were walking back from night one, and I said, like, with the Make-A-Wish kid, it's maybe like the same. They've overcome a lot of adversity, and maybe Cena's gone back and gone, well, it doesn't matter if you lose, you try. And there's a way to spin that there, isn't there?
Yeah.
But I think with the emotion that family's being through was probably not the right move. But at the same time, again, if you're looking at good storytelling, as long as eventually we get there, then I've got no problem with that happening.
No. And I suppose we do know Tony Khan loves his long-term storytelling.
Yeah. One thing I do want to ask the both of you is I know Claudio went over Eddie, which I think is the right move. But let me ask you this, right? Ring of Honor, as we know, has not been going very long in terms of its rise from the ashes. Do you think Claudio has, one, got the charisma, and two, the actual star power to drive that new product forward? Because I'm not too sure.
He definitely has the ability and the intelligence. He definitely has the ability.
So hang on a minute. Whoa. I think my mate Si told me this the other day when someone was said, you can't just carry on there, Nick, and just as though that didn't happen.
Oh, that was the Star Trek ringtone off my phone.
How disgraceful.
I like Star Trek. Star Trek's awesome.
I'm
a nerd.
too.
My
can't
name
imagine
is
for
Nick the Geek. Put the blocks together.
Yeah.
At least it was the original
No.
series.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But no, to answer your question, I think Claudio has the ability and the intelligence to be an exceptional world champion at a Ring of Honor level.
That's the key. That's the key, right? If this were AEW or WWE, I would agree with you, Andy, 100%. But Ring of Honor has always been more about, the technical in-ring side of things. And I think he's the perfect guy at the minute to hold that belt. I think it would have been a mistake putting it on Eddie, who's mainly character-driven.
Yeah.
Also, Eddie's whole character is he can't win the big one. I said this on the plane. I said this on the way there. I was the only person that thought Claudio was winning. Out of all of us. Claudio is ideal for what Ring of Honor represents. Of violence through honorable means. It's an old school mentality, and he's an old school type wrestler. So for me, he fits perfect for the Ring of Honor title. As you say, side like AEW, no. WWE, no. But Ring of Honor, yeah.
And straight up, you know who I think is going to beat him now?
Go on.
The way this feud is going with the Blackpool Combat Club and the Elite, I think it's going to be Hangman down the road.
That would work.
Okay.
That would work, and it put a belt back on Hangman without pushing him straight to the AEW title again, which I like to see.
Yeah.
But that's enough about Ring of Honor. Moving on to the other show that we got to go and see.
Yeah. Well, can I just say a story about this as well? So,
Yes,
first of all, kudos to Sai because he got us right over there. We had to make a mad dash between the two of them. And while we were on our way over there, one thing Sai said was, I just want to see Ali catch. He wanted to see Ali catch. He really did. And it was like it just all aligns because we were walking through the car park, rushing to try and get there. And Sai was laser focused until out the corner of his eye, you see Miss Ali catch.
I was gone.
Which is just perfect.
Yeah.
And then the time and everyone else didn't matter then. We still made the show great. And then here we are.
Hey.
Here we are. And he got his picture. And it was just everything just lines up perfectly for it, which was amazing.
Yeah. I'll be honest. I think the GCW show was the show I was looking forward to the least. As you know, I'm more of like a big company guy, I think. And I really hated myself for walking out before we saw Shibata. But we promised we were going to get to the start of spring break, and we had to cross the city. It took us maybe, 45 minutes to an hour. It was a hectic drive. But when we got there, when we walked in, GCW translates so much better in person to watch as a live show than it does on the screen. And it was a fantastic show, start to finish.
I mean, you, Sai, were lucky enough to go to a couple of ECW shows back in the day.
Just the one. But yeah.
Just the one.
Yeah.
Now, I have for
99.
many months now compared GCW to ECW in what the company is for professional wrestling. It's the land of the misfit toys. It's where all the guys that you think wouldn't get signed by anybody else go to work, and they put on the best show they can. The atmosphere in that building in the Ukrainian Cultural Center was insane. Like, I have never been around such passionate fans in my life. Like, they truly, I mean, I love professional wrestling, but now I understand why our friend on the mat is so obsessed with it. He's become one of the cult. He's become one of the cult. He is now so invested and passionate about that company. And after watching it live, I finally understand why. Like, what they do to each other, the speed that company works at is insane. For example, the ladder match that they put on, that was just a ladder match so they could have ladders in it.
The 10-person one.
Yeah, the 10-person ladder match, which was just insane. Won by Blake Christian.
Can I just give a shout out to Billy Starks as well? She's a talent, a real talent.
Billy is just incredible. Did anybody? We'll talk about Billy Starks for a minute. Did anybody see Battle of the Belts from Friday?
I haven't catched up with it yet. But
well, if you get the chance, it's Billy
She had a good
Starks
showing.
versus Jade Cargill for the TBS title, and it's probably Jade's longest match.
I was going to say Billy lasted a lot longer than I thought she was going to.
Yes, a lot longer. It's really good. Billy Starks has come on, considering she's only 18 years old.
I know.
She's got so much experience. She's come such a long way.
Yeah.
Watching her live was an absolute pleasure. The other crazy thing for me about the GCW show, guys, was the fact that we saw Jungle Boy. We saw Anna Jay.
Anna Jay, aka Wrestling Bitch Face.
Yeah, she was not happy to be there. Jungle Boy looked very happy to be there. Anna looked like she'd been forced.
She looked like she was looking around for the mat to wipe her feet on the way in.
Yeah.
No, the way out. You know what I mean.
Right, but I love GCW, guys. What was your? Yeah, again, we'll just quickly go over what were your favorite matches at Ring of Honor. What were your favorite matches at GCW?
I think you hit the nail on the head with Vikingo Commander was fantastic. I'm with you 100%. Seeing Tanahashi live. When we got to GCW, I think it just puts a caveat on how good Vikingo was in that he'd made the same journey we did, which was pretty hectic. After putting on a banger with Commander, he then pulled out the stops again. And you know how he had enough gas in the tank to put two matches on that level on the same night is pretty amazing. And also seeing Ibushi return was fantastic. Yeah,
seeing Kota Ibushi. I was. You're not the biggest Joey Janela fan. He's growing on me.
No.
Joey's growing on me for the simple fact of when you give him the right opponent, he will bump his ass off for that guy.
I'll give you that.
He will sell and sell and sell for the right person and really help put somebody over. And he did that with Ibushi, I feel. Not that he had much of a choice. It's Kota Ibushi. If he kicks you, it's going to hurt. But I just think GCW was a wonderful, fun little show. Like, I haven't been to an indie show in quite some time. And to go to what is effectively the king of the indies now was just... It was a unique experience. It was a fun experience, and I'd do it again.
And the drinks and the food and the concessions were a reasonable price as opposed to WrestleMania.
Yeah.
Oh, poll for the people in the chat.
Yeah.
Little quiz, little pop quiz for you.
Yes.
We went to the concession stand. Yes, definite props to Mike Bailey too.
Also, can I just say what my favourite match on that card was obviously Mike Bailey versus Vikingo, but the Motor City Machine Guns versus the East West Express I was really impressed with them guys. Yeah.
Well, that was probably my favourite match on the card. To see how far, yet again, it's very similar to Billy Starks, how far Nick Wayne has come in such a short period of time, considering he's 17 now? 17 or 18. Yeah. I can't remember which.
Yeah, he's not 18 till July because he's debuting with AEW on July the 12th.
Yeah.
So I believe that's just after he turns 18
No. But he and Jordan have gelled so well as a team.
They've become a real team. Yeah.
They really have. They got the match
we had his mum sitting in front of us, didn't we?
Yes, we did. We were sat just behind Mrs. Wayne. She is a very, very passionate lady who worries about her son.
Oh, I know. Yeah. Everyone else cheering, and she was like, "Oh God!"
So worried that he's going to die, especially when he started bleeding. But moving on to the last show that we got to go and watch at the weekend, boys, because this is down to our first major talking point.
Yeah, thanks, Connie.
Raw. Now, I was really excited for Raw. It was the Raw after Mania. I'd never been to a Raw taping before. We were in LA. All the stars seemed to be aligning. And then it happened. We all sat down. I don't know what it was like for you, Andy, because you had different seats from us. But the moment that show started, it was Vince's words coming out of Triple H's mouth.
Yes.
Can
I take this one? So I sat there through Raw. I enjoy Raw every week. I watch it commercial free the morning after. And for years, when people have been like being negative about it, you know this, Nick. I've always stuck up for that show. I've always loved that show. good or bad. But straight away, that wasn't Triple H speaking. They were Vince's words. Straight away, that those fingerprints were all over that show. We did get a decent tag match with the Street Profits against Kevin and Sammy.
Yes.
But that aside, the whole show was lackluster. And I sat there thinking, have I reached my capacity of wrestling this week after going to 4 live shows? Is it me? Is it too much? Then we got to the main event, and I'd said all through the show, Brock will not wrestle. He is not contracted to wrestle on Raw. This is going somewhere else. And then what happened. And why? If Brock wanted to beat up Cody, why not do it earlier in the show? If Brock wanted to get a shot at the title, why not help Cody win the night before? None of it made sense.
None of it makes sense.
And then when
you
realize
the crazy thing is, Si? Matt was right. Because if you watch SmackDown, the reason they've given for Brock attacking Cody is that Brock wasn't happy about going on first and Cody going on last.
Which, again, makes no sense.
Makes no sense.
Makes
Brock has always said,
if
he's not on first, if he's not on last, he goes on first.
We've had narratives from quite a lot of wrestling journalists this week, maybe in bad faith, saying how Vince was in charge of the show, trying to take away from that. And then we've had the counter arguments because SmackDown, it was a lot less obvious. It was more a Triple H show. But, I'm a WWE fan. There is genuinely no bad faith from me. And Vince's fingerprints were all over that Raw. We got the best WrestleMania for years, followed by the worst Raw in a decade. And I stand by that.
I would completely agree. Andy, like I say, you got a different view from us and everything. How did you feel about it?
Where I was sitting, it was as flat as a witch's hoo-hoo. But it was awful. It really was awful, mate. And even the crowd, I think I was trying to say that I was the same as Si, in the sense of I felt like because we'd had a long weekend, maybe it was me. Maybe I just weren't, because I just weren't into anything on the show. So I enjoyed the Street Profits match, but even that, I think because of the opening, the way it was, I was kind of peeved off. And I kind of had it in my head that I was going to watch it when I got back again to see if it, once I'd had to sleep and whatnot. But then I started reading everything online, and there was one of the guys, Fightful, reporting saying there was guys sitting behind the production box, and they got offered 7 different scripts during the show, 7 different run sheets. There was also, if you actually go back and look, you can see the moment Seth Rollins is told that his promo was cut. Yeah. And, the thing that annoyed me was just the whole Brock. For some reason, Vince thinks more, you say more is less sometimes, Si, but I think, that is the case. But I believe when you've got Roman making a 10-minute entrance every week, and then Brock Lesnar's bit and all the thing that went on there, it was just so badly used at time. But, from a company perspective, maybe if they didn't have to fly all the talent in and they just had a couple of talents on there, it might have made sense to do it that way. That could have been a thing.
You know what it reminded me of, right? Regardless of whether it was Vince or Triple H, and I'm convinced that was a Vince show, but we may never know. But what it reminded me of was back in the decline of Nitro, 99, 2000, you would build up through the show a tag team main event with 4 single stars, and then it wouldn't deliver.
Yep.
And that's exactly what that role was.
Yeah.
But I would agree with both you lads. The most, I watch SmackDown every week. Everybody knows this. I love SmackDown the way I love Raw.
SmackDown was really enjoyable.
Yes, I was so concerned when SmackDown started that it was going to be the same. But apparently Vince was not there. And I thought SmackDown ran really well. They had 5 matches instead of 4 this week. But if you want to hear any of my opinions, please watch my recap. They're available on the channel.
Now he's learning. He's not giving it away this time. But one thing I do want to say is I believe WWE going forward, apart from special occasions like pay-per-views and that, on weekly telly, they need to start restricting Roman's entrance because it's just so long and it takes up so much TV time.
He's not, when it comes down to it, he's not The Undertaker.
No.
Right?
No.
no one deserves to take 10 minutes to walk to the ring.
But also, I believe it takes away from the overall aura of it, because when he's in a pay-per-view match, or a PLE match as they call them nowadays, and it's like he's got the roses around him, and he's got the tribal stuff, and he does all that with the long entrance. That's fine, because we're at the point of when it matters. We're at that. Yeah. But just walking out to say, I mean, I'd love to know, and I'd love anybody who can point me in the direction of these stats. I'd love to know how many times Romo's cut a promo that's being shorter than his actual entrance.
That's a good point. That's a very good point.
We used to say this about Goldberg back in the day, and I'm a big Goldberg mark. But the amount of times that his entrances were longer than his matches.
Yeah, it's too much. Right, but we're going to move on. We're going to move on to what I believe is going to be a bit of a sore subject. And Si, you're the one who informed me about this, so I'm going to let you fill everybody in. Athena.
Go. Yeah. So, you know what Twitter's like. We have daily arguments, don't we? Today's thing that's come out is that Athena, and I don't have the exact quote on me, so apologies, this is from me, but essentially she said in an interview that she got PTSD during her time working for WWE.
Andy.
Okay, so just before I start on this, obviously, for anyone who doesn't know, I'm an ex-soldier. I've suffered with PTSD. It's a real thing. It's not a very nice thing to go through. It cost me a lot of my family at the time and everything else, and it wasn't very nice. But one thing I do want to say is, just before I do go on this rant, is, and I know me and you talked about this at some point when we were having a conversation one time about the fact is, everybody has their own crosses to bear, and I am not the type of person that would turn around and diminish or small anybody's kind of feelings, because everybody in them situations feels differently than somebody else.
It's all relative.
At the end of the day, whether it's me getting shot at or, somebody throws a brick through your window, that scare, fear is the same. And it doesn't mean my situation's any worse than yours, because we, at the end of the day, we're both still fearful, and that's the whole emotion.
It's relative.
But to turn around and say you have PTSD because you're a stupid brat in a company who didn't like where you were going or what you were doing is pathetic. I feel like for myself and millions of veterans out there, it's a slap in the face. For one, it really gets me a bit upset, to be honest with you. I also think using that to try and gain people's sympathy is just stupid. At the end of the day, working hard, there's millions of people out there each day that go to work and try and work hard to get the next step on the ladder. And if that doesn't happen, then they may move on to another job. But do they get PTSD from being told no, or from not getting the spot that you want? No, it's ridiculous. Now, if there's more to this story and something's actually happened to there, I apologise. I really do. But to turn around and try and trivialise PTSD and, the effects that it has on you and your family and everybody else that has to deal with what happens with it, is just absolutely disgusting.
I completely agreed.
And one thing I will say as well is that, when you do suffer with PTSD, the one thing that is very, very key is, and it was the case in my way as well, is you do not know you're suffering with it. You do not know. So for her to turn around and say, I am suffering with PTSD, well, no, you're not, because it took me 3 months in a secure unit to turn around and realise that I was suffering with that. So, to turn around and just go, I've self-diagnosed, you fucking idiot.
There's 2 options, the way I see it, from what you've just ended with there. Number one, she's a complete egotistical narcissist who only thinks about herself and doesn't even consider the fact that she's just trivialized and insulted millions of people who are carrying mental illness around. Or number 2, there's something we don't know about, in which case, but it's not the first time, is it, guys? Because when Athena first went to AEW, she said in an interview how she was kind of forced to wear booty shorts and things like this and sexualize the character. Yeah. And then she carried on wearing the same revealing outfits in AEW, which made no sense to me.
But anyway, that's enough. I'm not going to justify that with any more time.
Sorry, one thing I just want to say as well is, I'm not being funny, but she's not exactly the most talented person in the world. Watch the live at Ring of Honor, and she ain't all that.
Mm-hmm. But moving on
she screams all.
She does. She lexes an awful lot. Moving on to a much happier point. It was announced on Wednesday that finally AEW not only are coming to the UK, to London, little old London town, they are coming to Wembley Bastard Arena.
Yes.
Now, it is not
Stadium.
Sorry.
The arena is over the road.
They are going to sell out at least half of Wembley Stadium, and it's going to be magnificent.
And we're going.
Yeah.
I hope.
July 27th, we will. August 27th, we will be there. Yeah.
I'd just like to take this moment to say I know it's my anniversary. Sorry, Lauren.
Oh.
No, she's an absolute legend. Absolute legend. She's not even bothered.
Amazing. Right, but yeah, just excitement levels for this show, guys. I know it's not the same Wembley Stadium that they did SummerSlam 93 in. They've knocked down and rebuilt it since. It's Wembley in spirit and it's Wembley in form.
But the thing is, you know what, Nick? I'll just stop you there. I love the fact that it's not the old Wembley because AEW gets to write their own story in the new Wembley.
Nice.
You know,
I've been fortunate enough to see the original Ring of Honor, the original ECW, the original WWF, Raw, SmackDown, NXT, NXT UK, Progress, Rev Pro, GCW, WCPW, Defiant. List goes on. Aside from the original WCW, the only major company that I've not seen live is AEW. So to have this show coming up, it is a big thing to look forward to, you know, and to sell out 80,000 seats, it needs to be something big. Are we all thinking Kenny Omega versus CM Punk? Needs to happen.
Yeah. Do you know the only my concern with that is because it's all out the week after, isn't it? That's the one thing that's concerning me.
I thought it was replacing it this year.
Well, apparently people
All International was instead of All Out.
Oh no, people are trying to tell it. Someone was trying to say that All Out was happening the week after.
I don't think so.
Well, I to be honest, I really hope I'm wrong on that because I know somebody said that and I was like, but if that's not the case, then yeah.
Well, honestly, I'm hoping for one thing, boys. Everybody who knows me knows the reason I'm a wrestling fan is one man.
Sting!
That's all I'm hoping for. I'm hoping for his retirement match.
Yes.
That's the God's honest
against
truth.
Darby.
Against Darby.
Yep.
I'm hoping for Sting's retirement match against Darby Allin because the only person on my bucket list from American and Western wrestling that I haven't seen is Sting. He's the reason I'm a fan. I don't care that he's in his 60s. I will pop like a little child. On top of that, the opportunity to see Kenny Omega live, the opportunity to possibly see Jay White now, Adam Cole. There are a lot of wrestlers on that roster that I'm assuming are going to be on the card. I mean, we can pretty much guarantee FTR will be defending the titles on that card. I think we can guarantee Will Hobbs will be defending. No, that's a TV title. He probably won't. Actually, thinking about it, I don't think Will Hobbs will. But, I mean, that's who I want to see. Andy, what are you hoping for from the AEW show?
I'm hoping for CM Punk. I'm also hoping for... But what I'm hoping for CM Punk is, to be honest, I'm hoping for the Elite versus CM Punk and FTR. I think that would be an absolute belter. I think that would be the one that I'd love to see. I would love to see Jade lose the title there
to Anthony Ogogo.
Yeah. Well, I'm going to get to him in a minute, but I'd love to see her lose the title.
Just keep him off.
Yeah, but I'd love to see her lose it if she hasn't already to a local guy like Lizzie Evo or one of our local UK NXT talents that would got let go and kind of come back. I'm a bit of a, I was based down south for a long time. down the Norfolk Broads, down the Aldershot ways and that, and I seen a lot of the night shows down there. Seen a lot of their shows go on, and I would love to see Zach Zodiac get his moment. I'd love it. I'd absolutely love to see him get his moment. I think he
That'd
really
be pretty cool for Zach.
You know, and not just for what he's done in the wrestling and stuff like that. You know, there's things like, I don't know if anyone knows that he trained a blind kid and had the first match with them and stuff like that. So he's a really top guy as well. And for him to actually get that big stage moment, even if it's on the kickoff show or something like that, would be, or the buy-in as they call it, would be brilliant to see. And the Go beat Orange Cassidy for the international. Would be a good one.
I'd like to see Jamie Hayter versus Saraya.
I think that's where the women's belt is going.
Yeah,
definitely.
Yeah.
Like that in the UK, that's the biggest women's match they can put on in that company.
Yeah.
But
I think the only thing I'd say is, so just to give you a little update on where I got that thing from. So on Sportski there, it was stated, and this was 4 days ago, it says that some fan on Twitter asked Anthony Bowens, is this replacing All Out this year? And he said, no, this is All In. All Out is the following week. Which kind of makes me go, you know, as in, what are they going to do with this one in terms of that? But if you go onto the AEW website, it says to be determined around September time. So it could be, it could not be. There's no actual date there. Also, another point to make as well, which Ring of Honor, Death Before Dishonor, has got a TBA on it as well. I reckon you might see that in the London XL Arena, which is the kind of the type of arena that they've done the last one in.
Yeah, that'd work. That'd work, and that'd be a hell of a banger of a show. But alas, gentlemen, we are fast and furiously running out of time today. So, Legionnaires, thank you for tuning in. I love you all. If you enjoy what we do here at Wrestling Legion, please join the Legion. Subscribe to the channel. Leave a like if you enjoyed the video. Hit that notification bell so you don't miss anything that's coming up.
One last thing, 10 seconds. Sonata, finish the story. That was amazing.
Of course, before we do go, yes, congratulations. And congratulations to Aussie Open for finally capturing the IWGP Heavyweight Tag Team Championships.
Yep.
But Sonata beat Okada after 10 attempts. He's failed on all of them. He finally, at number 11, beats Okada and becomes the IWGP World Heavyweight Champion. Congratulations to Sonata. More than deserves it. He's going to be a fantastic champion. Cannot wait to see what he does with that belt. But I'm afraid that is all the time we have for this week, ladies and gentlemen. So, I've been Nick the Geek. I love you all. He's been Andy. He's been Si. We'll see you next week. If I can find the outro.